did they catch the guy who robbed a bunch of people on Mount Everest? Okay, the top half of the page, the nice thing about it is it all has common denominators. So we look at it, okay, pretty straightforward until you get to the next to the last row on the top half of the page. But what do? Look, we've got 7x minus x, 7x eighths minus x eighths. Well, if you have a common denominator, what is the denominator?
8.
Okay, so we've got 8 on the bottom. If I start with 7x and I take an x away, how many x's do I wind up with?
1.
If I had 7 and I take 1 away, how many do I end up with 6 x's. Okay? But I'm not done. Because what do 6 and 8? Because 6 has factors of 2 and 3, and guess what? X is a factor. 8 has factors of 2 and 2 and 2. Do any of these make 1?
2 over 2.
2 over 2, or 2 halves, is the same as 1. So when simplified, you wind up with 3x over 4. So do you see 3x over 4? We sure do. It's right here, so the letter R goes here. Pretty straightforward, actually. Looked scary with those common denominators, but is it? Not when you stop, take a deep breath, say, oh, fractions don't have to be so awful. But wait a second, what if it's in the denominator? It's got a common denominator. Start the same way. 5n is in the denominator. What's negative 4 plus 7? 3. Guess what? You're already done. T. You found your answer. Don't panic. Relax. Is it that hard? No. Okay? Now, I'm erasing quickly because I want to go to the bottom half of the page. Because once again, fractions are what's on there to be worried about. But you don't have to be worried. Okay? So let's look for a minute. Again, we're dealing with common denominators. When they're one-step equations. But one-step equations with common denominators, just relax. That's the biggest problem with one-steps. Okay? So why don't we look at letter F? Because we're in F land, right? The whole key is to isolate the variable. That's our goal with any equation. Get the variable by itself. We do so by adding the opposite. So what do we have here? 5/12, but we actually have negative 5/12. So what's the opposite of negative 5/12? Positive 5/12. So let's add positive 5/12 to both sides, right? So we end up with H equals negative 25/12 plus 5/12 is what? Negative 20/12. Can we simplify that?
Yes.
What do 20 and 12 have in common?
2.
Again, what we can do is actually factor it. Start with a negative, 1 times, what are the factors of 20? And here's how I factor. 20 is like this. What are the factors of 20? Is it even?
Yes.
2 goes in 10 times. Is 10 even?
Yes.
2 goes in 5 times. 5 goes in 1. Once you get a 1 on the bottom, you've completely factored this number. So negative 1 times 2 times 2 times 5. What are the factors of 12? 12 is even, 6, 2, 3, 3, 1. 2 times 2 times 3. So H, oh look, here's a big one, here's a big one, equals negative 5, thirds. You can turn it into a mixed number. How many 3s in 5?
2.
1 with
Oh.
2 left over. Put the 3 in the denominator. H, which is, now it's letter F. I wish they'd do it so it was that. F is negative 1 2/3. How do you like factoring like this instead of using the tree with the leaves all over? We'll practice it more. Okay?